Good evening, everyone, and welcome to an exciting night. Listen, was a great game. Uh, y- you know, it was just you're on pins and needles to the last 10 minutes of the game. They made it exciting. But before we get into anything, I am Dan Green. I am Flyer and Ice. We are sponsored by the Heat Ratio Sports Network, and I am so happy to have the great Frankie James of the Frank and Tank Show, co-host of Dusty Beats, and contributing writer to Flyers Nitty Gritty. Frankie, thank you for joining us, and please share with my audience all the other things you're involved with. Frankie, we have no volume. We're having technical difficulties on Frankie's end. So while Frankie gets set up, it was funny. Oh, Frankie, you back?
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So, Frankie, I was
Oh.
telling our viewers your credentials. Can you add anything I left out that you'd like to plug?
You hit it on the head. Obviously, give a shout out to Flyers Nitty Gritty for having me continue to keep doing work with them. Got to give a shout out to Jesse, founder of Old City Sports Network and host of Flyers Alley. You hit it right on the head, man. Listen, that intro video, man, I thought my intro video for Frank TheTank was good. That one was pretty impressive. Good stuff there for sure. But I'm ready to talk about the game. Thanks so much for having me be part of this. Hopefully, we can have the other way around. We can get some of your guys on the Frank TheTank show to talk a little Flyers hockey, a little debate.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So what I did, Frank, before the game started, I put on Twitter the puck points for success. Now, listen, a lot of the keys to victory in all sports are cliche-ish. They kind of have to apply almost all the time. But tell me which ones they nailed, in your opinion. I'm going to bring up the Flyers puck points for success.
Let's see it.
So the fast start, they came out flying, in my opinion. Your thoughts on the start of the game?
Oh yeah, I mean you hit it right on the head with that one. I mean it's exactly what happened, and it's just what they need to do with a team like Washington. You saw what happened with Pittsburgh. It was more of a defensive game, but surprisingly, you didn't come out with the fast start. You should have put a hurting on them. You didn't. This was different. It was a different atmosphere, and you see a different atmosphere when Martin Jones is in net. And I think that has something to do with it. Not that they should be up in their game because they should be playing 110% all the way, but fast start, not a lot of goals, good clean goals, and you just kept riding out throughout the game. It was a good start, and it led to a good win.
Really did. And you just, by mentioning Martin Jones, you go right to our second point: is the goaltending stayed hot. Carter Hart has been brilliant the past few games. He kept them he kept them in that Coyotes game for them to pull it off. And without him, Pittsburgh would have stolen that game as well.
Same.
Complete
Yup.
2 points. And then Jones was awesome tonight. Now, before I go to the next point, that brings me almost to a question that I have set aside for later, but let's address it now. Before the game started, where did you think they were going with the goaltending tonight? Did you think they would go hard again since they had a game off and it was against the Capitals, or were you predicting Jones?
This is what I was thinking, and it's a great question that you asked because I've been talking about this now for a couple of days. I was I thought Carter Hart. I thought that Carter Hart should have gotten the start. I think that he has to just keep playing. He's playing well. There's obviously a few mishaps, but he's playing well and he's continuing to play well. So I would keep going in there. Give him the big games. It's what needs to happen. But that being said, Martin Jones gets the shot here tonight. 3-0 on the year. I have him in probably about 18 to 20 games, maybe 20 to 22 games to play for the season, which I think he'll do pretty well. He also has something to prove. Look at his year last year. He came in and he also has something to prove as well. 32 shots, saves 31 of them, .969 save percentage. I mean, another great game to a really, really good Capitals team, and they have a phenomenal power play too. He's playing great. He's playing great hockey. And gives me that reminder of listen, Carter Hart's the guy. But if you go back to 2010, we went in with two good goalies with Michael Layton and Boucher. I don't see that happening here, but hey, I'll take two hot goalies.
And 2010, if you recall, we started the year with Ray Emery, and then he got hurt in those two
Yep.
took us to
All right,
the
R.I.P. to rest in peace to Razor.
yes, you're absolutely right. You mentioned staying out of the penalty box. We had 3 power plays to kill. The first 2 were just bad penalties. Lawton slashed Ovechkin's stick out of his hands. They killed it pretty much with ease. Later on, I forgot who was it that it was a Brassard punched players on the bench,
Oh yeah,
which of
yeah.
course was not necessary. Now
Never, but
the final power play for the Capitals was kind of needed. I mean, Ovechkin was jamming the puck like crazy, and he was and Sealer grabbed the stick to prevent it from happening. So if there's such a thing as a good penalty, that might have been it. But to hold the Capitals 0 for 3 on a penalty kill, we'll take it, right?
oh, absolutely. And the one good thing is, I'll mention one thing that you mentioned a little bit about Brassard and what he did. This team defends each other now. You're
Oh my
seeing
God.
it, especially the captain, which is important. But back to the power play. The penalty kill has been phenomenal. Power play, I think, is at 13 right now. I'm a big, and this is one of my hot takes. I'm not, I'm not a big fan of AV and his special teams. Now I know that he's not the one necessarily running it, but go back to New York, go back to Vancouver, and they have different players. His system just doesn't work. And I tweeted it out tonight. I don't like Claude Giroux at the point with Provorov. I'm not a big fan of Atkinson on the first line of the power play. I think it throws players out of position, and I'm really big on positioning and putting in the right pieces. So you have Paul Giroux at the point, and he's firing rockets, but I love him down in his spot to get those goals. If the second power play unit is suffering, then give them Cam Atkinson. Make it work. Yeah, I mean, I understand changing things up. Just not a big fan. I haven't seen much success yet with it. Just never a big fan. But the penalty kill has been phenomenal. Just killed off 3 big chances they had there. But they also have to try and stay out of the box. You're seeing time and time again, 5 penalties given up, 6 penalties given up, and even getting opportunities sometimes 3 or 4 and still not capitalizing on them. But solid tonight, so we'll take it.
Yeah, the final power play was the one where you're biting your nails. I mean, there was a couple sideboard one-timers by Ovechkin as usual, and Jones stoned him. So it was an outstanding game from that perspective, and that was limit number 8, the crazy 8's chances. For the most part, I thought they did that until the final stretch. I mean, you knew the last half of the game was going to be a strong push by the Capitals, and they rode the storm, as it were. And they had a few opportunities to counteract the aggression of the Capitals. It often leads to odd man rushes. Didn't happen, but again, we take the victory. And my final point: we could traffic in front of the net. That's always important. But what you mentioned earlier that I want to allude to right now, at the end of the second period, Wilson took an unnecessary hit as the time expired. Ristolainen turned around, didn't take any crap from him. McEwen jumped right into the fray. They
Love
matched
McEwen.
the physical play. McEwen's been awesome. He's been so defensively responsible. I've been beyond impressed. He hasn't even had one sloppy giveaway since I've been watching. So he's been very responsible, and he was right in the mix for his teammates. You mentioned it. They're going to fight for each other this year. That's the grit I've been dying for. And Brown's no slouch either. He's a really tough little kid. So that's a good addition. And anytime you can get Nick Aube-Kubel out of the lineup, I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
So sorry, Jesse, but I'm not a NAK fan whatsoever. So
He hasn't been a big NAK fan. We were just talking about it, but yeah, it's unbelievable how it's just not working out. I wish we had a pet league still, but with with Wilson being Wilson, that's just the way he is. And he's always going to be that player. I talked about it earlier on the Dusty PK. You know, so in front of getting traffic in front of that. Now I've been surprised to see TK. TK has really been the body in front of that for a smaller guy. Obviously JVR is that guy, on the third line in the power play unit, but they've been putting TK in front of that a lot. I mean,
I get for his hands, I guess.
even on the power play. Listen, you can try was doing something, man. So we'll take it. But yeah, it's you got to make sure you get the right guys in front of that.
So Frank, I want you to address what I call the ebb and flow of sports. So here's my little question towards you. Explain the ebb and flow of sports, in particular hockey, how they played uninspired against Arizona and against the depleted Pens team, and then they just play so strong for a majority of this game against the Capitals. Explain how that happens in sports.
It's crazy because you go back to last year when they would beat a Boston team and then lose 8-0 to Buffalo and then lose 9-1 to the New York Rangers. The
My God, yeah.
inconsistency, and I think it had something. I mean, accountability is big with me. I wasn't seeing that last year. I think the players that we have now obviously are going to hold people accountable, but it's still unbelievable how that happened. And to really dissect it is difficult because you listen, it's hockey, and you never know who's going to come out and play well. But it's just I don't know how that happens. You're better talented wise. You are meshing well. It's not like now we have new players on the team, but the last 4 or 5 years, this team has been together for a long time besides one or two players. So not being able to get the groove to beat teams that you're much more proficient and at most of all levels, that Penguins game, they should have beaten them. They should have won that game. I was like, I don't want to hear the 1 point. These are games you need to win. But I also said, those third line checking guys were playing more minutes. They out hit them 39-20. They were bullied. And then obviously the goal was unfortunate and Farabee out of defensive positioning and Risto should not been on the 3-on-3. I have a few things about that game.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. But yeah, the 3-on-3 with him out there, that was ridiculous.
But yeah, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, it's unbelievable how that happens, and you have to play 60 minutes. You can't let up, and I don't believe that players let up. I played 18 years pro ice hockey, and you just don't let up. And if there's an accountability with the coach where he's not holding people accountable, then that's an issue. And this is a big year. They got all the right pieces. Everybody that has come in as a leader, had a letter on their jersey, can score. There are no more excuses. And I'll tell you my take right now. I have this team going to the Eastern Conference Finals. They have everything they need. I mean, get Ellis healthy. Wade Ellison will be back eventually. Hayes. This team has the talent. They have the goaltending. They have a good coach. There's no more bullshit. You need to go, and you need to get out the second round, or maybe a game 7 competitively. You need to get to the third round.
No, I love that. I love that hot take right there. Let me ask you a quick question.
Hot take and cupcake, brother. Hot take and cupcake.
Stop it. I'm hungry. Now, you had referenced. Oh God, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, you referenced when Ellis comes back. Now, if I'm the coach, and it's like they always just go by pedigree and paycheck, right? Pedigree and paycheck. But the eye test tells me you leave Sealer in and you sit Sanheim. What are your thoughts on that when Ellis returns?
Leaving Sealer in and then sitting Sanheim. I'm with that. Sanheim, they put Sanheim as an offensive defenseman. I don't know where that comes from.
He's regressed.
Very impressive. Yeah, absolutely. Sealer is playing well. I'm with that 100%. How can you not be with that? Because of the fact that they have Sanheim on his outline as, like I said, an offensive defenseman. No way. And that was part of Ghost's problem, Ghost's snares, that he scored those goals and totally forgot how to play defense. Be a defenseman. Focus on the defense part, then maybe get a few goals. But focus on the defense. That is your job. Like when it comes to stats with defensemen, I'm not really big on it, especially with that Ellis and Provorov line. Eat up minutes, slow down the game, make smart plays, and shut down their opposing team. That's what I want out of them, and that's what I'm seeing out of them. But I'm not a big Sanheim guy right now. Cheap contract, but not a big Sanheim guy right now. I would take Nick Steeler.
I am glad we're on board with that. So here's my next little point. So the new guys are continuing to impress. Brassard had a nice goal, a beautiful goal actually, and in my opinion, it was Ristolainen's best game of the year so far. I'm sure you're in agreement with that. And at times, he's had some honestly poor games. I mean, a recent game, I think his last game, it was a very poor game, too many giveaways. I'm sure you've seen our show a few times. We have Nick Descaltasti. He's played.
Oh, yeah.
His sons play hockey. And he calls it the suicide pass. Risto's famous for whipping it around the boards, almost in fear. I got to get rid of the puck. Today, he was under control more. He was aggressive. I almost think he was nursing his injury. And maybe tonight, perhaps he's starting to finally feel healthy. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, Vrista's the one that really has gotten a lot of crap, so to speak, on that he's not ready or he's not playing well. I think he plays a good game. The new guys that have come in have been nothing short of spectacular. I like every move that was made. I want Ellis to get back because I think that, and Jesse has this take as well. Provorov is kind of being exposed. When he doesn't have that guy with him, like a Provorov or like a Niskanen or a Ellis, he shows his flaws. He's a
Yes.
great defenseman, but he's a guy that needs somebody to be compatible with him and play well, almost a better player. Whether it makes him more confident to up his game, but he gets exposed when he doesn't have the guy. So the importance of having Ryan Ellis here, I mean, it's showing right now. Good game tonight. Like you said, he goes out and does get the job done, but there are chances where sometimes something could happen where it could be fatal.
No,
You guys.
no, that's a good point with Provo. Last year, Nick the Scout and Vance, they were kind of saying the same thing you are, and I just have this love affair for Provorov. When they drafted him, I thought it was a great draft. Of course, it was a McDavid draft. But I hear a lot of background noise now. Frank is coming from a bar, and I hear every sound of it right now.
I'm actually
Frank, now I want cupcakes and a beer.
Right now. Oh my god. Well, that's because my the headset had
No worries. But
not
anyway,
not the audio, but the beautiful headset.
Back. Thank you.
that's a little
So
better.
Frank just coming from a bar. No, I'm
Yeah.
not back having food. Sorry about that one.
No worries. So Provorov, like it kind of hit me like a lightning bolt. These guys are right. He's a very good number 2 defenseman. He's not a top line defenseman. I have to face that, and he is with a good partner, as you mentioned. But a really good defenseman doesn't have to have that. He's the guy that picks someone else up. You don't always have to be picked up. So I'm in agreement there. It took me a while to face that because I was kind of blinded. I had my orange goggles on with Provorov, but he's a solid defenseman, but he's not a true number 1. And a lot of people have referenced that, both my co-host, yourself, and some guests. So on our last show, it's funny. We said, hey, what are your thoughts on the Pittsburgh then Washington? Give me prediction of points. Who's in net? And everything flipped, right? Everything flipped. We would probably said 2 points against the Penguins. We'll be happy to get 1 point against the Caps, and we probably would have assumed it would have been Jones and then Hart in net. Everything flipped. But we got our 3 points. You take 3 out of 4 points in these 2 games, wouldn't you? If you had a crystal ball, not knowing what you know now.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I would say 3 out of 4 points. Obviously, what we know about the Penguins and stuff like that, you should have got both wins.
Right.
But not even sure. But tonight, tonight's a tough game. It's a tough game against Washington. But the Pittsburgh game is definitely vice versa. Win the Pittsburgh game, maybe get a steal point here. But it didn't work out like that. And it goes back to what we were saying. You're not beating the teams that you need to beat up, and you're winning the big games. And it goes back to it's something that just can't be explained. How does that happen? How does it happen? But 3 out of 4, fantastic. Very happy about it. I don't know anybody that couldn't be happy about it. Not in the crystal ball, not knowing what we know now.
Right. And it's weird, Frankie. Sometimes on our StreamYard, our Facebook users' names don't appear. It just says Facebook user. So
hello, Mr. Facebook user.
Yeah. So Mr. Facebook user says Martin Jones looked good, and we talked about that at length. He looked terrific. So let me see here. All right. So every show, this question is asked because last year with the struggles of Carter Hart, and then it's like we're always analyzing how Carter Hart plays. Well, this is a question that doesn't have to be asked. How did the goaltending look? It looked tremendous, and the goaltending has looked tremendous. So that it just goes to show you that if your goaltender can see the puck and you're defensively sound, and that's the beautiful thing about Jones tonight, the economy of motion with him. He didn't make any flashy, brilliant saves. He was just positionally sound.
Yeah,
and the only reason
one big save.
Yeah,
a couple big saves, but the good thing is you're seeing with the defense that we have now, they're not getting as many shots on the goaltending. You're seeing he had 23, 24 saves, maybe around there throughout. But we used to give up 45 shots a game, 40 shots a game on Carter Hart. It's a huge issue. And then he would let up a few goals, and now just everything looks terrible. You brought in the right pieces to contend, and you're seeing it also with the goaltending and the defense. not letting as many chances and shots on the goaltender.
It's a very good point. I'm going to ask you this now. We've beaten the drum pretty hard on the great goaltending. We've talked about how the new additions looked great. In your opinion, who were the standout stars tonight? You know, as a writer, I'm sure you sometimes have to throw your 3 stars out there. Who were your 3 stars for tonight's game?
Well, I'll just start with that. Martin Jones was phenomenal. You know, I really like. You know what? I'll do this as a whole. That the third line tonight was a star. I tweeted it out early on. This might have been the best shift that they've had all year, and they just got better and better and better throughout the game. I think that was definitely a second star for me. I'm gonna give it to the whole line. That whole second line and Lobom looked really good. He's been a concern for me.
Yes.
1 point in 10 games, +2. He has to start putting the puck in the net. But that was so first one Martin Jones, second and third line of the Flyers. My third star, look at the Derek Brassard. He's had a really good year, and he looked really good tonight. Got a nice, good goal. Good, solid player, gritty player. Definitely was going to give it to Derek Brassard for the third star.
No, and for me, you have to start with Martin Jones. He especially the second half of the third period. It was they were on their heels, and he kept them in it. I gave the second star to Ristolainen. I thought his presence was felt tonight. He just looked aggressive. I don't know.
Might have been one of his best games. It might have been one of his best games.
I'm convinced he was playing hurt, and he's maybe feeling better. And listen, just not to be a complete homer, I thought Daniel Sprong looked noticeable on the ice for the Capitals. Ovechkin, of course, towards the end was scaring the crap out of you, but Sprong looked terrific. I mean, he's the kind of guy that he's a good, damn good role player for that team. I mean, the guy flies, has a heavy shot. Daniel Sprong, in my opinion, played well tonight, but I can't go against what you said. Lawton played well.
Yeah,
Lindblom finally showed something, but yeah, it's funny. If you've watched our show, Nikki T and I were on eggshells with him because how do you ever bash Oscar, right? The man's been through hell and back. So it's hard to do it, but he doesn't, for me, show a high ceiling. I almost think
it's becoming a concern. Not almost a concern. But first 10 games need more out of him.
And when Allison comes back, when Hayes and Allison come back, what are you going to do? You're going to move Oscar to the fourth line and then bump one of those other guys off. I like the grit of that line.
People are challenging for spots right now.
Yeah, that's a good
when
problem.
You see Wade Allison come back, he's going to have to contend. He may not come back and get right in there because
he might have to go to the injury.
And the team's playing so well that you may not want to change too much.
No, you're right. You're right. So it's a great problem to have. Now, before we wrap up the show, I just want to give you a little, you and our viewers, a little forecasting of our schedule coming up. Our next game is Wednesday, hosting Toronto.
I'll be there live from press media for Flyers and Gritty, all the coverage.
All right, I'm going to text you as the game is taking place. Then we're at Carolina, and as Vance said, the NHL did us no favors putting that team in our division and taking Boston out. And then we're at Dallas. So those are our next 3 games. Any concerns or thoughts on those 3 games?
Well, Carolina's played phenomenal. I think they got their big loss today, actually.
Yeah, they were losing 4-0 last I looked.
Yep, they lost today. Good team.
Yeah.
Great coaching. Great coaching. Unbelievable coaching. That's probably what I'm concerned for me. Dallas, Western Conference, I think we have them. I like 5 out of 6 points in the next 2 games. You heard it here first.
Listen, if you say it, it has to happen. It has to happen. So Adam was our Facebook guest. The coach should get a star for having the guys ready to play. Well, if your team's not ready to play against the Capitals, Adam, you don't get a sticker for me on that one. You know, he gets a sticker removed for how they played the previous 2 games.
Yeah, he did his job for sure.
But, ladies and gentlemen, we were blessed to have Frankie James join us. The man knows his hockey. If you don't have a chance, if you get a chance, you gotta listen to Frank TheTank. You gotta listen to him on Dusty Beats. Read his articles on Flyers and Nitty Gritty. Frankie Love the collaboration. Thank you
So do
so
I,
much
man.
for joining me tonight. It means a lot. My boys had 2 of my guys had weddings, unrelated weddings.
Jesse's at a wedding.
Maybe they're dancing together. And
Probably so.
my buddy Vance has got night work when he's not off. So
It's just you and I tonight, brother.
yeah, you saved the bacon, bro. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. And next time we'll do a switch. You come on and hang out with us, and
Absolutely.
we'll talk hockey.
Absolutely.
Listen, everybody eats, and that's the way we rock and roll, man. Thank you so much for having me be a part of this. I'm going to send you my personal number. We'll text her out. Thank you again so much, man. I really appreciate you having me on there.
Hang on after we hang up. So that was Frankie. Again, Frankie James. Thank you again. I am Dan Green. We are Flyer and Ice, brought to you by Heat Ratio Sports. Check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcast. It's a good ride home. And of course, subscribe to Heat Ratio Sports on YouTube. And ladies and gentlemen, good night, good hockey, and we'll see you after the Toronto game. Take care, everyone.